Hey guys, it's Magic Man Scott, back at it with another book review. My last book review video did really well, so thanks for that. I didn't expect that video to do that well, and I hope you guys liked that one. Today I'm reviewing The Great Devourer, Leviathan Omnibus. As you guys know, I'm a pretty big Tyranid fan. I got that Hive game just because, you know, Hive Mind, Swarm Lord, and all that. So pretty big Tyranid fan. Inside this book is, I want to say 8 stories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there's 9 stories in this book, and I believe 7 of them are made by different people. So I think about 8 people. Yeah, I think about 8 people worked on this book. So 8 authors, a lot of stories, 600 pages. I guess I'll get straight into it. Oh, and I do want to show you my collection. So I got this guy. Oh, there we go. Got that guy. And over there on my black shelf, I got a bunch of Gene Stealers and Brood Lords. So that's my collection. Anyways, so this is my book review. What do I think of the book? So I think the first half of the book, I think the first like 300 pages. I think the first like 300 pages or so, I would say this story here down, not that great, honestly. So I would say right around here, the book gets kind of eh. So from page 9 to 400, I would give this book like an 8 out of 10. Pretty solid book. And these stories here, I'd probably give like a, I would say these stories down here, I'd probably give like a 5 out of 10. They're pretty average. They're not very exciting. And this story here is like 5 pages. So it's incredibly short. It's like that thick. It's like 5 pages. So very short. This one here is really disappointing. Anyways, do I recommend this book? Yeah. I think this is a pretty good book, even though the second half's not great, but the first half is pretty solid. And the reason I'm recommending this book is because it's pretty cheap. $18 for a 600-page book. That's not bad, you know, plus tax. And I did end up Amazon. I got this online because I don't have a local bookstore, so I did get this online. So it might be like $20-some for this, you know, shipping and all that. This book came in pretty good condition. There's a little like mark there, but it's hard to notice. But this book came in pretty good condition, and I like it. And I've been mentioning this book slowly as I'm reading it. Pretty much every video I made, I go, hey, you know that Tyranid book I'm reading? So I've been mentioning it for the past, I don't know, a couple months now, and been talking about it a lot. And I did learn a lot from reading this book. I just didn't, I didn't learn anything new about the Tyranids. I don't think you'll learn anything. I didn't learn anything. I have the rule books, the 9th edition, the 8th edition and 9th edition rule books, and I read those front to back. And I didn't learn anything new about the Tyranids. It's all like same. It's all the same info. But I did learn a lot about Eldar, and I'm gonna go ahead and break it down for you, just to make it easier. And I'm gonna tell you what's in this book, just so you know what you're spending on. Just to know what you're spending your money on. So the first two stories are the first two stories. Trying to point. First two stories. Both really solid Eldar stories. I learned a lot about Eldar, and they're really good. And this is coming from a guy who can't stand Eldar and hates them a lot. And even though I hate Eldar, I took the time to read them. And they're actually really, really solid. And Valdor, I do think Valdor is the best story in the book by far. It's about 200 page story, and I do think it's the best. The first story in the book is definitely the best one. And I did learn, basically the Eldar got so desperate that they called in Dark Eldar, and there is a bit of a Dark Eldar story there. So, Eldar, Dark Eldar, Tyranid story. Wraithflight is an Eldar space battle. It's pretty short. It's like 10 pages. That one's pretty short. But you get to learn how powerful the hive mind really is. It sends out this psychic attack that almost kills all the Eldar, which goes to show you how, if the hive mind actually tried and focused on one being, it can kill pretty much anybody with its psychic attack. So it goes to show you how powerful the hive mind really is. It was able to out-psychic the Eldar. Last Day of Ector is a Space Marine story, the Crimson Fist. It's a defense. It's kind of an Imperial Guard story where they defend a hive world from a Tyranid attack. And that one's pretty good. Oh yeah, and I should mention, all these stories here, every story in this book, well actually no, this story here isn't linked. 7 of these stories are actually linked together. So each of these stories are separate, right? Each of these stories are completely separate. But it's better to just think of them as one story. All these stories, they take place in this Cryptus sector. And actually during this book here, Last Day of Ector, they actually notice the Eldar fight going on in this story here. So all these stories here are actually linked together. They actually they can use their binoculars, their telescopes, and actually see. So all these fights are happening pretty much at the same time. That's what I'm trying to say. And there are gene stealers on every planet, which is scary to think about. It goes to show how far they planned, the Tyranids. And there's Harlequins, there's Phoenix Lords in the book, all that great Eldar stuff. There's a bunch of webway shenanigans. There's not many books that there's not many books that talk about the webway, and this one actually goes into depth about it. So basically, if you're interested in the Emperor's, project where he tries to make a webway, this book here actually explains what a webway is. So I did enjoy that a lot. And I was able to understand the Eldar story, even though I know 0 things about Eldar. So that's something I want to point out. Deathstorm. So this is a Space Marine story. This is a Terminator story. So these are Crimson Fists. This is Blood Angels. And this is actually, this book here, this entire book is a prequel to Devastation of Baal. And I actually have Devastation Baal on my shelf there. I forgot to pull that out. I did read Devastation of Baal front to back a couple times. That book there is really, really good. But this book here is actually a prequel after these stories end, after this story ends, after this book ends, it's Devastation of Baal, right? So if you read this book and then read Devastation of Baal, it makes a lot more sense. But I read this book in the reverse order because I didn't know this book was a prequel. But anyways, Space Marine story. They hold the line, fight the Tyranids. Death Storm. Space Marine Terminator story. This one here is actually pretty long, and there's fights like every page. The Death Storm is a very, very action-packed Terminator story. It's pretty good. I liked it. Shadow of the Leviathan. Shadow of the Leviathan was pretty boring. That might be the Inquisitor. I actually don't remember what Shadow of the Leviathan was, but I remember it being pretty bad. Tempest is a Sister of Battle Inquisitor story. That one there was decent. Devour is a Necron story. That one there is like really lengthy. It's like 10 chapters. So that's a Necron Tyrannid story. And all these stories are linked, right? All these planets are like right next to each other. And during this book, like 10 planets, I would say about 10 planets get eaten. Or actually no, the good guys win. Or the Eldar win. So I would say about 4 or 5 planets got eaten in this book. So Tempest is a Sister of Battle Inquisitor story. Devour, Necron story. The Word of the Silent King is more of a Dante story. So if you're interested in hearing Dante talk and get to see a moment in his life, this is a story where Dante and Silent King hang out and talk for a bit. It only happens for like 2 pages. I still think it's interesting. The Silent King and the Dante hanging out. Dread Knight is a Grey Knight story where they fight demons. They fight demons and Tyranids. I forget what Shadow of Leviathan was. Let's see. Shadow of Leviathan 411. I actually don't remember what Shadow of Leviathan was. Oh! This was the comedy one. I remember now. This is the comedy Ultramarine one. This one was weird. This one was just a straight up comedy. Which was weird to put. I don't know. That one, Shadow of the Leviathan's a comedy story. It's about the Ultramarines, the Liberian. Yeah, I'd give this half of the book like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And I give this bottom half of the book like a 5 out of 10. That's just, I know some of you guys like Eldar more than me. I know some of you guys like Necrons more than me. So maybe you guys like these stories more than I do. You know, everyone's different. But yeah, I would recommend this book. And also, because this book is so lore heavy, well, I didn't learn a lot from reading this book, but there's so many factions in this book. Space Marines, just normal everyday humans. There's gangers in the story. There's High Lords and, well, not High Lords, but the Governor Lords, you know, the Lords of the planet. There's Eldar stories, Tyranid stories. Because there's so many stories in this book, I'm not sure if I would recommend this book to a beginner. If this is like one of your first book reviews, say this is like your first book review that you've seen, and you're interested in Warhammer, I'm not sure if I would recommend this as a starting point. All the stories are really short, so they're pretty easy to digest. But I'm not sure if I would read this as a starting point into Warhammer. I'm not sure if I would say it. I would say this is probably medium difficulty. Yeah, I'd probably say this is a medium difficulty book. I wouldn't recommend this as like a beginner book. And yeah. The first story in the book was my favorite, Valdor. Valdor is my favorite story, and I do recommend it. And now that you know what's in the book, now that you know what each story is about, you can skip to your favorite one. They are linked, but you can skip to your favorite story and read about your favorite characters and read about your favorite factions. I'm kind of disappointed in this because I didn't learn much about Tyranids. But they do eat about 5 planets or more in this book, which is a lot. In most Chaos books, they attack 1 or 2 planets, and in this, they attack like 10. So Tyranids get a lot done. And I believe, I might be wrong, but I think Leviathan was actually the scout Tyranid. They were the first Tyranids to arrive in the galaxy, like the universe. So I think the Leviathan is actually the scouts. And later on, like in the 10th edition trailer, you've seen them adapt to all the new threats. They have a Tyranid just for killing Psykers, right? You see them adapt to the new environment. So, big difference between this Leviathan and the 10th edition trailer. I'm not sure if that's Leviathan or Behemoth, but it's one of those two, I think. But yeah, big difference between these Tyranids and the 10th edition Tyranids. And overall, I think that's my review. I learned a lot about the Phoenix Lords. I learned a lot about Avatar Arcane. Learned about the Webway. I learned about the Crimson Fist. So if you guys are interested in all that, I do think it's a good book. The comedy one was weird. I think that's the low point in the book. I don't mind comedy in Warhammer, but it's just weird. Yeah, that's the comedy one. Anyways, I think that's gonna be it for my book review. Hopefully, you enjoyed it. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching.